this is a great way in which I plan to serve people with the message that I feel that I've been called to share, which is allowing people to live more authentically. And that in itself is the best form of luxury. Another way that I plan to really serve the luxury state of mind audience in 2025 is creating more resources and products that will really help you. So this year was focused more on building an audience, building, listenership, and just allowing people to get more acquainted with luxury state of mind. But in 2025, I'm actually going to be building more resources and products. So you'll start seeing that coming out in 2025. So first there's the speaking, and then there's products, but things that are really going to help you change, your perspective and your mindset. That was a big thing as well that I saw on the survey, that people just want a mindset shift. So I'm going to give you the mindset shift. Welcome to the Luxury State of Mind podcast, where we focus on intentionally crafting a life that feels tailor-made for you. On each episode, you'll learn how to create luxury in your everyday life and celebrate the uniqueness that is you. I'm your host, Damio Shodi, and I'm excited to help you develop a luxury state of mind. Hey there, welcome back to the Luxury State of Mind podcast. I'm your host, Damio Shodi, and on this podcast, my goal is to help you live in luxury every single day of your life. So it doesn't matter where you're coming from, your background, how much money you have in your bank account, all the things that you would think that you need to live in luxury. On this podcast, we're teaching how to live in luxury every single day based off of 3 principles. First one being identity, second one being intentionality, and then third one being freedom of choice. When you are able to know who you are, be grounded in your identity, be intentional about making choices that align with where you're going and your fulfillment and the purpose that you've been called to do, and are able to make changes and choices that empower you to keep moving forward, you are living in luxury. And that ultimately leaves you feeling authentic, feeling like your true self, and creating a life that feels tailor-made to you. So this is going to be the last episode of season 1 of the Luxury State of Mind podcast. We've been sharing episodes every other week since the beginning of this year, since April. So really happy about that. And on this episode, it's basically going to be a year roundup, sharing my own perspective on how I've lived in luxury this year and some things that I intend to do in the following year in 2025. And then I also had the pleasure of connecting with those of you who listen to the podcast. You were actually able to share your insights of what you did in 2024 to make life feel more authentic to you, and then what you plan to do in 2025 to really live in luxury. So we'll have the pleasure of listening to those voice notes. People were able to send voice notes to the podcast to share what they intend to do in 2025. So if you're interested in getting in the know of what's going on with the podcast, or being able to participate or wanting to participate with the podcast, then you can sign up on the website. As I said before, the Luxury State of Mind website is available and up and running. You can actually put in your email, and you'll be notified when, we ask for different participation to be on the podcast, or ideas, or you can also even fill out the survey as well. There's a survey for the Luxury State of Mind audience, and then you can also leave your email there as well. So I will say, for me, there's a couple of ways of how I lived in luxury this year. And I'll give a couple of them, and then I'll also share how I plan to live in luxury in 2025. So the first thing that I would say that I did to really create a life that was more authentic to me was aligning my life with my values. I would say that's the number one thing. Aligning my life with my personal values. And there's this exercise that I did a couple of years ago to figure out, what do I actually value? And I think still continuously looking at, what do I value? And it's it takes a lot of, self-discovery to figure that out, and being just aware of what things are your convictions, what are things that you live by that you ultimately find valuable. So a couple of my values is adventure, joy, mentorship, health, and even my faith, right? These are things that I feel very convicted by, and I'm excited to be able to do or create opportunities, be a part of opportunities, or be in spaces that align with these type of values. So in 2024, I really was intentional about making sure like how I managed my time, the type of activities that I did align with what I feel is valuable to me, which aligns with who I am and aligns with my version of authenticity, right? So some ways that I did that was, for one, I was more, I would say, experimentative this year. I tried a lot of new things. As I've mentioned on the podcast before, I did ballet this year and was in a ballet recital, and that was huge because that was something that I never planned to do, did not have any vision of doing that at the beginning of 2024. I just, wanted to find a new way to be fit and found ballet and really liked it. So I did that in this year. I did hiking. I went to new places, really more within, I would say, in the state that I live in. Didn't get to travel that much this year, actually rarely this year. And that's something that I would like to do in the future because I do love traveling. I feel like that's, for me, one of the top ways that I'm able to be adventurous. But for this year, we were able to be adventurous within the bounds that we could be adventurous in. So I would say being able to try new things was a way in which I was able to live out my personal value of being adventurous and, creating more excitement. Another thing that I did was I aligned my schedule to create time to start the Luxury State of Mind podcast and maintain the Luxury State of Mind podcast. Because I had such a strong conviction at the end of 2023 to get back into podcasting and to start this platform or revamp the previous platform that I had and now call it Luxury State of Mind, I made sure on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis to really invest into this platform and to invest into creating content that is valuable and that I feel can really help people to start living a life that feels like them. Not a life that feels like other people's, but a life that actually feels like them and they're excited to be a part of their own life, right? So I made sure that I made time for this. So that would mean, sometimes how I would record episodes was I would batch episodes, right? I would batch record episodes. And that just means I would record multiple episodes on one day. So sometimes I would use, like a Saturday or even a weekday to record 2 episodes. So I had enough episodes for the month because at this point we release bi-weekly. So that made sure I had enough episodes to cover the month. I would send it to my editor and they would, be able to edit and put it together. But that required a lot of intentional planning because now even, with working with somebody else to help produce this podcast, they're on a deadline as well. So I have to try and do things in advance and think about, okay, this is, how I need to do it, or do I need to plan the content out? There would be times where I would use days that I'm off, or I would use holidays to plan content, or I would just find ways to make sure that this was a priority because, again, I value creating this type of content. I want people to win. I want us to feel excited about our lives every single day versus wishing that our life was somebody else's or wishing that, why can't we be like that person? And man, I feel like what I'm doing is not all that great. I don't feel good about myself. Those are the things that, not on this podcast. That's not what I want. I want everybody that listens to be excited. And I made that an intentional part of my life every single week or every single other week and just made sure that I was able to give my best to this podcast in 2024. Another way that I lived in luxury was I asked for help in delegated tasks. I talked about this in the episode. I don't remember what episode number it was, but I talked about how to create more time in your everyday. And one of the major ways in which I created more time this year was I asked for help. 1, and then 2, I delegated. So, and me having an editor to help with this podcast, to help to create it has been one of the best things that I could have ever done when it came to creating a podcast and creating this type of platform. Because as I looked in my past and looked at, okay, what worked, what did not work. What did not work was me doing all this by myself. Like I can do it, but it's just not a good use of my time. So being able to look for help to be able to assist me on this journey of creating the Luxury State of Mind podcast was a way in which I was able to create luxury because I created more time for myself. And funny enough, this is actually going to be something we're going to focus on more in 2025, how to create more time. I looked at the survey, I looked at what you guys wanted to see more of, and I saw a lot of things about, wanting to be consistent and how to create more time and how to be productive. And I feel like with creating a luxury life, one of the major ways you can do that is by developing or managing your time well. So very happy about getting, somebody to help manage this podcast. That was a major way in which I created luxury for myself. Another way that I lived in luxury this year was I maintained my health goals. I did not have like some crazy list of health goals this year or things that I wanted to achieve. To be honest, what I really wanted to do was maintain what I had accomplished in 2023. So at the beginning of 2023, I was just so fed up, in regards to just not even like internally health wise, but just like when it came to my weight, I just felt like I was doing CrossFit at the time, beginning of 2023. And then for over 2.5 years, I was doing CrossFit, but nothing was changing. And for the amount of work that I was putting in, it just didn't make sense to me why things were not changing. So I decided to revamp my whole fitness schedule and how I did things in 2023 and, got significant results. I lost over 15 pounds or even more than that. And this year, my goal really was just to maintain that. So to learn how to maintain, looking my best and just feeling my best. So I'm really happy that I was able to do that throughout the year. And then when I felt that things were fluctuating in the wrong direction, I just knew how to bring myself back to, what needs to be done so I can, again, maintain. I'm so grateful for everyone who sent in a voice note to let me know how they were living in luxury in 2024 and then how they will be living in luxury in 2025. So listen to the voice notes coming up next. Be inspired that you can live your best life. You can live in luxury in the following year.
So a meaningful life for me is a life that really aligns biblically, a life that serves not only myself, but also serves the Lord and serves others. Because one thing that I definitely kind of learned about myself within the past couple years is that I really love to just support others and serve others and kind of like be there for the people around me. Because not only does it really fill up their cup, but it does kind of fill mine up a little bit. So it's just that appreciation just goes like a long way. So this year in 2024, to live authentically, I really tried to romanticize my life in a way, kind of like the luxurious living, like not in a superficial materialistic way, but just in a way that kind of pleases me and something that like doing things that I genuinely like to do or that I genuinely want to explore doing. Because a good amount of my life I've kind of lived for other people or kind of listened to other people, and within the past 2 years, especially this year, I wanted to focus more on things that genuinely make me happy and genuinely want to make me feel like myself. And then it's also a good way for me to kind of learn things about myself, like learn like hobbies I might like, or learn things that just kind of come up as well, like things that I need to heal from, or things that I genuinely like didn't know about myself. So being intentional this year, I also wanted to be more intentional with like relationships, like friendships, family, and all of that. Only because I've lost a lot of people in the past couple of years, just not really from like death or anything, but just from things just not working out, or you're moving in a different direction in life and they're just not moving with you. from there I was able to learn a lot about myself. And from there I'm able to create like intentional relationships and friendships to where like I'm able now to like set boundaries, like healthy boundaries. I'm able now to kind of tell people like how I would like to like be served, how I would like my cup to be filled. So that way we're able to kind of, pour into each other in that way and be more, have more of a fruitful relationship. So yeah, in 2025, I would love to see kind of more of that blossom, more of the intentionality I grew in 2024. I really want to see that kind of like blossom and be more fruitful next year. I also want to spend more time building my career as well. I spent a lot of time growing in like relationships in 2024, not just platonic relationships, but my relationship with the Lord. And I definitely want to see more of that because it's just, a growing experience. It's a journey. But yeah, 2025, I would love to focus more on just building up my career, getting more certifications that I genuinely want to do, and that I have a passion for and see myself doing. Next year, to be more authentic, I think, like I said before, I just want to carry on the things that I learned in 2024 and kind of move it to like build my life, not only my career, but also my health as well, focusing more, on my fitness, focusing more just on my health aspect, on beauty, skincare, hair, and everything else.
Okay, so to the first question, which is, how have you been intentionally in 2024 to live authentically? I feel like this year was so different for me because I have fully surrendered and let go and let God direct me. And what I noticed when I surrendered and I let God direct me is I don't really worry as much. I don't really have anxiety. I'm not really like depressed. Everything I'm doing pretty much aligns with Him, and He's putting me into places where I'm able to serve and help people. I found my purpose this year while serving God and following the steps He wants me to take. So I've been very intentional about everything in my life this year, such as my relationships, my career, just everything. And God has blessed me abundantly. So I feel more authentic this year. I feel like my other years I've been fake and I haven't been as authentic. I was trying to fit in. I didn't really know who I was. I was doing what the world told me I should do. So much abundance came from living more intentionally and more authentically into myself this year. And in 2025, I just hope to continue making an impact in people's lives. I would love to start coaching like doctors and people in the healthcare industry and just fully going in on my business, my health and wellness business. So that's what I hope to see in 2025 and just continue surrendering to God. And I'm excited about the next year to see where God is going to take me. So what would I do in 2025 to live more authentically? I would basically continue surrounding myself with the right people, continue listening to that voice, listening to God on what the next step should be. Just continue working on like these things about myself, like self-doubt, insecurity, and bringing those to God and not judging myself for feeling those things, but use it as an opportunity to connect with God to bring me life. And yeah, just being happy more. Like I feel like in my 20s I wasn't as happy. I was always looking for the next best thing to make me happy, and I just want to just learn to be more content, just appreciative of how far God has brought me.
Hey, Demi Boo. Sorry I'm sending this late, but one of the ways that I have been living intentionally this year is just to give myself space to relax. I think this is one of the first years that I've just let myself say no and not held myself up to really high expectations, high standards. I just let myself just be, and I truly needed that. Although next year, I will want to see myself say yes to a lot more and to push myself a lot harder, but I think during this year was just a time where I needed to just rest in my life and in my surroundings and being more present, because this year started off a bit rough. But hopefully next year, because I gave myself this time to rest and just be, I think I can definitely start stronger next year and just live up to the fullest. Hi, my name is Shapa, and to be intentional in 2024, I really allowed myself to pace out my year. So in the past, I would pick goals and just run, and just, I'm going to hit every single one of my goals for the year and not stop running until I hit each of those goals, or not stop doing and working until I hit whatever the goal was. And I realized that it's really unsustainable, because at some point I'm going to burn out on one front or all the fronts in each area that I have a goal in. And rather, what I've been doing this year is really allowing myself to have these chunks of time, whether that be 2 weeks all the way up to, 16, 20 weeks of just, hitting the goals and making to-do lists and being on top of things. But I would also follow that up with, a corresponding break. So I remember towards the end of summer, I had done, a fitness goal, and it was almost like in 18 weeks that I did that. And afterwards, I took like a nice 3 weeks to month off of, having a super regimented fitness routine. Or when I hit other goals with other projects I was working on, I would take a corresponding break, and I would really pace myself, and I wouldn't run towards all my goals at once. I would really look at my life and say, okay, well, right now it might be a busy season in this area, so the goal that I can fit in is this. And I made sure that my goals fit into a life that I could ultimately still be happy with. So even when I was running with those goals, I was not living so severely out of balance that I could not sustain myself to get to the goal. So I think that that's one way I've really been intentional about loving myself, is giving myself the ability to pace out my life and my goals and my year, and to listen to my body. I listen to myself quickly now. For 2025, to live more authentically, or to live in luxury, I plan to do the same thing, pace myself with my goals, make my goals bigger, and also make my rewards bigger, and to invest in myself in areas that I haven't before. So for me, that looks like traveling, and looks like spending more intentional time with friends and family. Traveling is something that I've always wanted to do more frequently, and I think finding ways to parse that out as weekend trips for, long weekends and holidays and things of that nature, instead of grandiose vacations, kind of parsed out throughout the year, is going to be a way that I really look forward to living a luxury lifestyle next year, because being able to spend time with friends and family doing things you love is why we all go to work and get money, aside from paying bills anyways. So to me, that's a luxurious life experience that I'm excited to see happen in 2025.
I really wanted to feel content about how I looked. I wanted to feel happy about how my clothes fit on my body. And I think because I was able to maintain, the hard work that I had established in the previous year, I feel like this year I didn't have anything that I was like, oh, I really need to do. I really want to change my body in this way. To be honest, I'm actually very happy. And I've never honestly been able to say that in the past when it comes to my appearance. But I would say that this is the first year of my life, or probably since I was younger, that I can confidently say I'm happy with the way that I look and I feel good. And if nothing changes, I'm okay with it. So very happy about that. We'll see, maybe there's another way in which I want to do it next year, but I'm kind of just going with the flow. I'm not trying to force anything when it comes to my health and my appearance and fitness and all of that. I'm just trying to see, how to continue to just be more happier and to feel my best. So very happy about maintaining my health and my overall look this year in 2024. So now this is the banger right here. This one right here, this was a major way in which I was able to live in luxury. And how I was able to live, I think, in one of the ultimate ways of luxury, with everything else that I said still works, but this was great, was honestly going deeper in my relationship with the Lord and understanding and finding the power in prayer. Now, I have mentioned on this podcast before that I did a fast back in 2023, December of 2023, and that was a life-changing fast for me. People have some people, like when they get saved, they have their days in which they're like, they had an encounter with Christ. Like they can remember the day that they had that encounter and their life changed. That hasn't necessarily been my story, but I will say that I can remember the time in which I had a re-encounter with Christ. And that was in December of 2023 when I went on 3-day fast and found out from after that fast, the transformation actually happened after the fast. Because I found out about the kingdom and I found out about like more of what the Lord wants to do with our lives here on earth, right? So with that, this year I've been really adamant on making sure I invest time into building my relationship with the Lord and making him a priority. And this was something that I have done in the past, but I think with this new knowledge of the kingdom, it changed everything for me. And now it was like, okay, no, you are a serious priority because I know I am dependent on you literally for everything, for strength, for encouragement, for wisdom, for protection. Like I understand that more now that I understand or am still growing in understanding the concept of the kingdom, right? So I feel like I'm still ever growing and knowing, and I don't want to say I know it all, but I will say that this year I was really focused on making sure that God was a priority in my life. And also with that, having prayer, like praying. And I've, prayed and all that stuff before, but I actually found, like, I don't know how I have not plugged the name of this prayer call on this podcast. Like, I know I've alluded to it, but I don't know why I never say the name. I found out about Arise and Shine, a prayer call that happens every morning at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's ran by Dominion City Church in Georgia, and Dr. Neka, who's also an entrepreneur, runs that prayer call. And oh my goodness, it just changed the game, okay? Like, really what it changed for me was using the word to pray and then also praying in tongues. Now, I have prayed in tongues for years, but did not really, not that I didn't see the value, but I don't know, I just never really got it, right? But once I came across her ministry, she actually has a podcast called Success by the Book. And I feel like the day that I found it out, it was in, I believe, July, because I was asking the Lord that I just need something to change, because I was feeling in different parts and areas of my life very down or very frustrated, because there was things that there was something, especially this year, that I really, really wanted, right? And put a lot of effort into trying to achieve, but for some reason, it didn't work out. It was not working out no matter how hard I tried, and it left me feeling very disappointed. And I could see that my emotions were constantly going up and down. I would be fine for a moment, and then something would happen, something would trigger me, or I feel like I'm behind. And then, I may be sad for a day or two, and sometimes for weeks. And I would just be yo-yoing back and forth with my emotions. And I remember asking the Lord that I need something to change. I need something to change. Even though I was still spending time with him in the morning, I was still praying, but I was like, I don't like that my emotions keep running up and down like this. I don't feel stable emotionally. So I was on YouTube one day and just discovered her podcast, Success by the Book, and liked her teaching. She talked about the kingdom and all this stuff and wealth building. But then she was like, oh, I have this prayer call at 6 a.m. So I was like, okay, let me just try it. And I remember the day after I heard about that prayer call, I was woken up at 5 a.m. in the morning. And I just said to myself that maybe I should just get on the prayer call. Let me just see. And I saw how like believers were like thriving in their relationship with God, like how like they would be sharing their testimonies every day, not just one testimony once a week or a month, but like how the Lord moved in their lives every day. And to be quite honest, I had never heard that before. Like I had never seen like, oh, like how God moves in a believer's life every day. And these people were like advancing in their businesses, in their health, in their marriages, with their children, in their careers. They were excelling, and they would be sharing how God moved and how they're hearing from the Lord. And I was like, whoa, this is different. And I remember getting on that prayer call and I prayed with them, and majority of the call, like you pray in the spirit, and I felt so light. Like it's like all the burdens that I had been experiencing just kind of fell off. And I said, is this what it really means like to be walking in, in tandem with the Lord, like, in partnership? I need more of this. So I've been joining the call every week, and I've enjoyed it because it teaches you how to pray with the word and not necessarily pray just for things, because that's what happens, right? You just get in the habit of God, I need this. Oh, I need you to bless this. Oh, I need you. But it's like, how do you pray his will to come on earth? How do you pray for other people? And then how do you pray that the principles of the word will be reflected in your own life? And that's what I learned. I learned, and I'm continuously learning how to read the word and apply it to my life. And to lay that foundation comes through prayer and allowing the Lord to, as you pray in the spirit, you're allowing his will to be spoken through you because you're using a heavenly language. So through prayer, I've been empowered to just really seek the Lord out and seek his word out. And then also just pray for his will to be done on this earth and what he wants me to do. So one of the best ways that I have experienced luxury was growing in my relationship with the Lord and valuing prayer. Okay, so So another way that I have grown in my luxury lifestyle, a meaningful life for myself, and really living, a life that feels good in 2024 was I was intentional about creating an environment that uplifted me. I was very, very intentional this year. And I think now I can, put it on paper, but it's like, I think I've always done this, but really this year I saw the value of it because now I'm dreaming bigger, right? So now I'm in a space where I'm back into doing what I feel like I'm called to do. There's a lot of thoughts that may come to my mind or whatever that may be opposite, or not even thoughts, but just the environment, the world itself, the things that are happening, what people are talking about can really be deterring or negative, right? So I was very intentional about making sure that my environment would lift me up. So here's some ways that I was able to do that this year. One or a couple of ways that I was able to do this was going to different seminars, events, and even being open to mentorship. And ultimately, I was chasing after this year where there is wisdom. If wisdom, good, wholesome wisdom is being taught, that's where I want to be. So I went to a lot of even events at my church this year. And, just a lot of great leaders and teachers have been teaching there. So I've been learning new ways to think. And it's always opposite to what, the environment or what the world, and when I say the world, I just mean like what culture is saying and what a lot of like those like in our culture are constantly preaching and saying. And so I decided to create an environment where I would go to people and places that literally said the opposite and would teach on wisdom, would teach good principles that I could think on, meditate on, and eventually apply where necessary. So went to a lot of events, went to different environments, and was also mentored this year, found mentors this year, and it's open to allowing people to speak into my life that are where I want to be. So that was one way. Another way about how I was able to be intentional about creating an environment that lifts me up was having a supportive group of friends and leaning on them. I really, really leaned on my friends this year. And a way I was able to do that was actually being more vulnerable, of course, with those that are good friends. No, not everybody, but those that are close friends, and just sharing where I'm at and how I'm feeling. And they would just speak into me. They would speak into who I am and what they see in me. And that would encourage me, and even family as well, being able to just, I guess, bear my burdens with other people and allowing them to speak into me. And then even if there wasn't a burden, just having a good community, just talking and doing the same for somebody else, and allowing my own gifts to serve even my friends as well. So that was such a great way in creating an environment that was uplifting for me and kept me encouraged in the good and bad times of this year. And then also, I would say the last way I was able to really create an environment that helped me feel my best and uplifted me was listening to content that encourages me and uplifts me to what I desire. So I listened to a lot of information about the kingdom because I was like hungry for it. I was like, what is it? How can I learn how to read the Bible? How can I, learn to see things the way the Lord sees it? So I did not listen to everybody. I don't listen to everybody. I don't listen to every pastor, every, internet preacher. But I was very like, okay, there's a certain people that I'm listening to that I feel like are aligned. So I would listen to their teachings or whatever. And of course, go back to the word myself, but listen to that. And then also those that are encouraging what is like good things throughout, minus the noise, right? Because there's a lot of noise. Like there's a lot of talk about, okay, like in, how you doing great in this economy, or there's no good men, there's no good friends, like people aren't good. Like I would listen to content that said the opposite of that always found a way to speak in abundance versus speaking towards lack, or being or talking about what everybody else is talking about and saying what everybody else is saying. I don't like to take in what culture says and make that my truth, because sometimes I think we're just all saying this. Everybody's just saying the same thing and believing the same thing. And that's why sometimes we have a certain result, despite knowing, of course, there are things that are happening. So, of course, there are actual real hardships and things that are happening. But I really, for myself, tried to be intentional about what I was thinking about, and making sure that, because I know, okay, this is where I'm going. Because again, luxury state of mind is not just I'm just saying things just to say. It's because these are things that I'm actually doing in my life and how I've been able to thrive in different circumstances. And one of those ways has been being intentional. What am I listening to? What are they encouraging me to do and to think about? Is it giving me hope? Is it helping me to love myself and love others and love the Lord? Like, is there hope? I want to be in hope, because it sucks. Like when you don't have hope, and I know that feeling, like when you don't have hope on your future or your tomorrow, it's hard. It really is hard. So instead of feeding into the lack of hope that you feel, and even me too, it's a matter of how can I craft an environment that will push me to where I feel excited about life. So that was something that I did. And then the last thing that I did this year, that was something I want to continue building upon, is continuing to build a solid financial foundation. So I also saw that a lot of you do want to learn how to build wealth. So that's going to be something that we will look into next year. And if you have any ideas on how you want to do that or what you want to learn, again, you can fill out that survey, the Luxury State of Mind survey, and let me know there. Or you can even send me an email. You can find all of my information on the website, luxurystateofmind.com. But one thing that I did this year was I really wanted to build a solid financial foundation, because another one of my values, and I think finance is literally built into literally all of them, like, because you need finances, is freedom, right? So that's a value of mine. I like to be free. I don't like constraints. I don't like, lack, and nobody does. But I understood that there were certain sacrifices I had to make this year, but it's setting me up for a better tomorrow, a greater tomorrow. So I decided to really work on my savings. So I didn't get to do, a lot of fun things this year, not because I couldn't, but it's just thinking of, okay, based off of where I want to go, what do I need to do right now? So I didn't necessarily buy a lot of clothes this year. I love clothes. I love fashion. I love looking good. It's something that energizes me, but I knew that, okay, for this moment in time, let's just let that one go. I didn't travel that much this year. I value travel. I love travel, but I just had to be real with myself and be like, okay, where we're going for next year and just in the future, let's learn some habits that will help build our finances. So did that this year. I listened to a lot more financial, conversations and just content. So I've spoken about Ramit Sethi so many times on this podcast, but I love listening to his podcast every week. So I listen to that just to learn the mindset behind money and just learn more about myself. So to set myself up for my future, I decided to focus on saving and even investing. So I invested more this year than I have before. I'm investing and then also investing into things that push, the Lord's agenda forward. So tithing was one way. I'm trying to give towards other like foundations and things that are important, that are helping people. I just tried to, build good habits this year that will build a good foundation for my finances so that I can continue to prosper and prosper more, so that when I do get more, I know how to manage because I knew how to manage with the little I had before. So that was very important to me this year. All right. So I've spoken about the ways that I've lived in luxury in 2024. I'm sure there's many more ways that I've done it, but those are just some things that I wanted to highlight. And how I plan to live in luxury in 2025. I don't have a lot of points on this one. I think I'm still even thinking this through, like, what do I want to see in the next year? But here are just some things. And there's like two things that I had that I'm like, okay, what do I want to see in 2025? So in 2025, a way that I want to live in luxury personally is I want Luxury State of Mind to be a helpful resource. I want to see Luxury State of Mind really serve you and help you to just live your best life, okay? That's what I want to see in 2025, and I want to do that in different ways. So the first way that I want to do that is speaking. I believe that this message of living in luxury is a message that is beneficial for anyone and everyone. So from a leader in corporate to those running a nonprofit, those who are being served in a nonprofit, to those in universities. I mean, anybody who wants and desires to be fulfilled in life, I want to speak. So that's something that I'm going to focus on next year. And speaking, virtually, speaking nationally and even internationally, that is something that for me would be like, man, like I'm living my dream. So as I've said before, you can find all of the information on Luxury State of Mind on the website, luxurystateofmind.com. And there you'll see all my speaking topics, what I'm going to be speaking about or what I can speak about. And of course, it can be tailored to the event that I'm being called to or that I'm partnering with. But ultimately, I believe that Luxury State of Mind is a service to anyone and everyone. So if you are somebody who plans events or you're looking to have an event in the next year, I would love to partner with you. And I have all of that information again on the website, so you can tell me more about your event, what date it is, what you're looking for, and we can go from there and see how I can add more value and partner with you at your event. So this is a great way in which I plan to serve people with the message that I feel that I've been called to share, which is allowing people to live more authentically. And that in itself is the best form of luxury. Another way that I plan to really serve the Luxury State of Mind audience in 2025 is creating more resources and products that will really help you. So this year was focused more on building an audience, building, listenership, and just allowing people to get more acquainted with Luxury State of Mind. But in 2025, I'm actually going to be building more resources and products. So you'll start seeing that coming out in 2025. So first there's the speaking, and then there's products, but things that are really going to help you change, your perspective and your mindset. That was a big thing as well that I saw on the survey, that people just want a mindset shift. So I'm going to give you the mindset shift. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be here and be able to support you on that journey, because on the podcast, I can share only so much, right? There's a lot of things that are, and a lot of practical ways that we can go about these things. And I'm able to talk about them, but to be able to either work with me to be able to do that, or have something physical that can help you work through, what you're trying to work through, that's a different story. So I'm going to be having more opportunities for you to be able to grow in your mindset and to grow in whatever it is that you want to develop in your perspective, and to see the world in a new way. So again, if you have ideas, you're like, Dami, to be honest, if you could really create this, or you could help me in this way, I would just, this would be the best thing. So I keep plugging the survey. Fill out the survey, the Luxury State of Mind survey, or you can send me a message or DM me, but get in contact with me. I definitely want to hear from you on what it is that you would want to see created to help you in 2025. So you're going to start seeing more products and more resources shared. Another thing that I'm going to do in order to serve you more in 2025 is to craft a community. So more of this community building for Luxury State of Mind. So I don't want it just to be a podcast where it's just me and, everybody's just taking in what I say. I want you that you're listening to be a part of the podcast, to share your feedback, to share ways and ideas that you think would help the podcast grow. Every podcast episode, we feature a win, right? So there's and why I do this, because I'm not sure if I've said why I do this, but basically, what has helped me learn how to appreciate life more is to be able to see how I'm winning every day. And really that is like how God is moving in my everyday. So I've realized, because I struggled, I feel like it wasn't until this year that I see the value of this or understood it. I see how hard it is to feel like, if it's not something big, then you're not winning. But it's like, how can you see how God is making things work in your favor every day? Or what can you say made your day better? Or what big win did you have? What small win that is pushing you forward to who you really are? Like, what is happening, right? So I want more responses in 2025 on how you're winning, because in how you're winning, it encourages somebody else to know that they can too, and that God is also on their case as well. So I want to hear more voices in 2025 to feature more of those things in the podcast. And then also more people involved in the resources being created. So like I said before, if you're like, Dami, I think this would be cool, we should do this, go this way and all that, I want to hear that. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know, and even TikTok, I reach out to my followers. Like if I see that you followed me and you've interacted with anything that I've posted, I reach out. I send voice notes. So don't be afraid to reach out to me and let me know, if there's anything that you like, or you're like, man, this would be cool if we could, see this and whatnot. I want to know about it. This to me is what would make life like amazing in 2025. So speaking, being more involved with my audience, and just really us participating in building this podcast together, and then creating resources that assist you. And then the last way that I feel like would be luxurious for me in 2025 is to really, really stay close to the Lord. Really, really build that relationship more and deeper, and to stay light, like I mentioned in the previous episode, on episode 14, staying light, not forcing things, but just allowing Him to lead daily. So creating space for Him, that's one way that I would do this. So, creating that space and time. I mean, it's become a habit at this point, but previously I had scheduled time to spend time in my word and in prayer. But thankfully with the prayer call, it actually makes it much easier, because I just know like, okay, we're ready to rock and roll. So I want to allow more time and space for Him, so He has time to speak. I have time to speak. you know what I'm saying, we partner together, and then also throughout the day we talk. So staying close to the Lord and his leading and allowing him to set the pace. I would say I've noticed it more in the end of the year, how he's just bringing different opportunities to me that are showing me that, okay, this is where I want you to go, and different people. Because like I've said in a previous podcast, it's not just me running this thing. There are people that are really walking with me there are people walking with me to make sure this podcast is successful. And it's because he's brought them to me. So I'm taking those cues and following the pace that I've been given. And then also for me, I want to continue to be aware of how he's showing up daily and see that there is a win in my everyday. And in doing this, it keeps me encouraged and it keeps me hopeful. So how I'm able to do that is, again, I truly believe prayer is the foundation of this, and, the word, but then also just like, you know what I'm saying? Like being chill and realizing, being chill, but like, I'll say realizing that the good things that happen in your life, even on a daily, like you spending time with your friend and they encourage you, or somebody giving you a nice word, telling you like how amazing you are and all this stuff. All those things are gifts from God. I'm starting to realize more and more that those things are not actual like normal happenstances for everybody. Or like how people treat you, like maybe you go to a nice restaurant and you're treated very well. Maybe you're even given something for free. There was a season that I could go outside and I would be getting free food like at restaurants. Like I felt like, and God knows I love food. So for me personally, I took those as he's like, okay, he's, just in the midst of this, he wanted to take care of me. That was my indication of he wanted to take care of me. So I'm realizing that those things that happen on a daily are not actually normal things for everybody, in how they're able to just live beautifully, or even to spend time with those that we love. Those are gifts and those are wins. So I really want to acknowledge more of that, because the more I see that, and I've seen in this year, I'm like, wow, like God does love me and he's with me. And I just want to acknowledge and be grateful in 2025. So those are some ways that I want to live in luxury in the upcoming year. And, I mentioned all those things I did in 2024. I want to continue doing that, and then just growing more and more. So we'll see what 2025 looks like. I believe it's going to be a beautiful year. And I mean, really, because I have God on my side and he's with me. So it's going to be a beautiful year. So yeah, super excited for what will happen in the following year. If you want to participate in the Luxury State of Mind podcast and you're like, I have some ideas, Dami, or I want to be in the know, go to the Luxury State of Mind podcast at website, which is luxurystateofmind.com, and you can sign up to be a part of our emailing list. I'm going back and forth if I want to do an email list or text thing, but let me know even that too. So you can go to luxurystateofmind.com website to check all the information about the podcast and how you can get involved. And then also you can fill out that survey. You can share what you want to see, what would be helpful for you. And I will do my best to be able to offer you what it is that you would need to, advance in the next year. So those are two things that you can do. And then a third thing, if you are interested in partnering together, you can go to the luxurystateofmind.com website and find out information of how we can partner together and how the message of Luxury State of Mind can be made available to you and your audience. So I just want to say thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for coming in episode after episode and just being amazing and sharing the podcast with your friends and your family and those that you love. Thank you for sharing this content with them. I am so grateful for the opportunity to do this and to speak with you and to just help you on your journey of growing and becoming your authentic self. So I'll speak to you soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please share with a friend and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can also view the full episode on YouTube. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you on the next episode.